Hello and welcome to the May 25th, 2025 episode of Nick's News. I am your host, Nick, brought to you by Some Budget Studios. That's right, we are putting money into this project of ours. We're live every Sunday, and I thank you all so much for tuning in and catching our live stream on YouTube. That's right, we are streaming on YouTube. This is a program dedicated to bringing good news to counter all of the bad news that we're bombarded with on a daily basis, with the hope of bringing a little bit of joy back to the world. Several of our articles are pulled from sites like goodnewsnetwork.org and goodgoodgood.co, but we appreciate everything that's sent in by you, the Nick's Newsies. So, we're back in the saddle, live episode tonight. I have my allergies going crazy, so if I sound like absolute trash, that's why. Hello, Nico. Hello, Christian. Good to see you both. Oh, all right. News Brew. So, producer Donna, when she visited, brought me a very large care package from Ontario. A lot of different brews. And so we are still going through those. And hopefully I don't blow this up. Because Peanut Butter Nitro Shake, and we'll try to get the labels shown. There we go. It's light colors on light colors. But it's Peanut Butter Nitro Shake from Whitewater Brewing Company. It's a 4.5% ABV stout, so a little on the lower end for the ABVs of stouts I usually drink, but it's peanut butter, and I absolutely love peanut butter in a beer. However, the instructions say, just shake and pour to enjoy, which means this is a beer that they want me to shake. So, hi Becky. I am going to push my mouse and keyboard into their little hiding spot. We're gonna give this a shake, and I've got a giant ass pint glass for beer purposes. So here goes nothing. Oh boy, yep, it did exactly what I thought it was gonna do, which is explode everywhere. We are not going to get into the theatrics of a however long pour because this one just went crazy. I shouldn't have trusted the can! I've got beer all over my hand. But, like all nitro beers, you can see it leveling out as it goes. You get an aggressive pour with these nitro beers, Guinness being the most well-known, and the head levels out very quickly on them. Man, I'm glad I went with this pint glass. Holy crap. My hand is now covered in beer. I'm going to go clean this real quick. Pardon me. We're going to have to cut to a technical difficulties screen for that one. So, could be worse. Yeah, it could have been worse. It could have gone literally everywhere. Instead, it just kind of stayed in my hand. I caught it. And it didn't get on my mat or a little bit on my phone, strangely, and a little bit on the microphone, but that's just on the mic stand, so we're fine. So yeah, we're going to enjoy this news brew tonight. Peanut butter stout from Whitewater Beer Company. So should be good. Let's get into our shout outs. First shout out is to OrpheusQuine, the Twitch streamer, who is the friendliest pirate on the Sea of Thieves. They're a gamer, a beer lover, and an all-around nerd extraordinaire. You can join him for Sea of Thieves adventures, weekly craft beer reviews, and tabletop roleplay action. His channel is an all-ages, all-inclusive, and family-friendly channel, and he really is a great guy. You can catch him, OrpheusQuine. I have his links in the description. So to OrpheusQuine, friendliest pirate on the Sea of Thieves. Cheers. What? Oh my gosh, that is peanut butter. That is a peanut butter cup in a glass. It is sweet, it is nutty, it is chocolate. That's crazy. That's a really good peanut butter beer. Next one. Tesla Tree Service went and rescued 5 cats in the last week. That is an amazing number to get through. Animal rescues are always free, and we here at Nick's News appreciate everything that Tesla Tree Service does. So to Tesla Tree Service, thank you. And cheers. I hope I can get the thumbnail for this one to be just me like... Because that's a big glass of beer. Next shout out is Doug Rutsch, the creator of Dying to Serve, is going to be at the Grand Rapids Meals on Wheels, helping in the kitchen from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. on May 27th, this upcoming week, as of the broadcast of this episode. It can be located at 2900 Wilson Avenue Southwest, number 500 in Granville, Michigan. If you want, swing by to show your appreciation for what Doug Rutsch is doing. We featured him on a previous episode of Nick's News, an amazing man who is spending his last time on this earth trying to help as many people as he can. So to Doug, for all you are doing, cheers. Ooh, I gotta slow down on that beer. It's so good, I'm like just putting it away like it's nobody's business. There's a little extra in the can. Yay. You should have heard me a week ago. I'm glad we didn't have a live episode last Sunday because my voice was trashed. This is so much better than it was. Producer Donna just said, yep, Doug is trying to volunteer in all 50 states with the time that he has left. So wishing him the best and hoping that he can get through all 50 states. News quote, "The smallest act of kindness is worth more than the greatest intention." That comes from Gibran Khalil Gibran, a Lebanese-American writer, poet, and visual artist who's best known as the author of The Prophet. And I think that was published back in 1923 for the first time in the United States. The smallest act of kindness is worth more than the greatest intention. We can have the greatest intentions, and we can hope for the best, and hope the best for things. But really, what gets the world turning and what helps the most are even the smallest acts of kindness. So, from Gibran Khalil Gibran, the smallest acts of kindness. Cheers. Becky in the chat, maybe we can make a card and give it to him. That'd be one thing to do. It's a great suggestion, Becky. I think we might be able to pull that together. Yes, Producer Donna, you picked a good beer. Bug update. Still no Elmira. I'm hoping any day now that we'll see her coming out of her burrow. But again, I'm not too worried. And she will roam her vivarium looking for things to hug and kiss soon. Sue has been extremely active ever since he dug a burrow. If you check out our Instagram, you can see photos of that now and then. He did a huge excavation and dug a big burrow, and ever since he's been like posturing on this pile of dirt he made. I don't know if he's getting ready to molt yet. This might be pre-molt behavior for his species. I'm just not sure. Whatever it is, he is pretty hilarious seeing him in the morning just kind of strutting around on his dirt pile. He just overall seems antsy, so we'll see what happens. Ripley scuttles to and fro and is the stuff of my darkest nightmares. And Mantis McLeod is as active as ever. He is still with us, which is great. I'm happy that his immortality is proving to be true, and he has lasted this long. So, pretty good week for the bugs. So before we get into our broadcast, we do have another announcement to make. We don't make these often. Usually we put them in the shout-out section, but this one happened so much that we needed to address it with its own section. So we had quite a few of you submit articles this last week, and we are ever grateful and ever appreciative for everything that you send. However, some of the articles were behind paywalls and subscriptions. We have had to make the tough decision that we're just not going to be able to use those because of that reason. We're not going to ask Nick's Newsies to pay to read the articles that we post. It's important to us for a couple reasons, that what we post in the articles we go through are free source or easy, you can get without having to go through a paywall. So that our viewers are able to read the articles. That's a big one. One of them is for copyright protection. We not only cite our sources here on Nick's News within the broadcast, but we provide the links so that we are not showing that we have any ownership of the articles that are produced. All of that goes to the sites they're produced on and the authors of those articles. So we post our articles that we read here specifically for that reason. And then also, we don't embellish or cut the articles in any way to show, a favorable outcomes or any sort of bias. We are going off the article as it's written. And when possible, we find replacements for sources for articles that require subscriptions. But it just seemed like we got a bunch of them in a short period of time. So if the article is behind a paywall or a pay site, we're not going to do that article. We will, however, try to find a non-paywall version of it. We thank you all so much for the articles that you send in and provide for us to read and your understanding in this matter. So to all of you, thank you very much. Producer Donna says, Sue keeps challenging me for control of the dirt mound since I keep emptying the dirt out of his water dish. He does. He actually is taking after Elmira. Elmira, during her digging constructions, was burying her water dish. He did the same, so I did have to clear it out a few times while he was doing the digging. All right. Let's get into our broadcast. It's broken up into 4 major categories. Those categories are science and technology, health and medicine, flora and fauna, aka plants and animals, and wholesome notes, the really nice, touchy-feely articles we like to end on. We've got 7 great articles tonight. We're going to start off in category 1, science and technology, and we called this one Spring Cleaning at 15 Billion Miles Away. And this one was sent in by Mona. So Mona, thank you very much. I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. NASA's Voyager 1 revives backup thrusters before command pause. This was posted to the JPL NASA government website, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory website, on May 14th of 2025. And I don't think there is an author listed. I think it's just posted by JPL. Engineers at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Southern California have revived a set of thrusters aboard the Voyager 1 spacecraft that had been considered inoperable since 2024. Since 2004. Fixing the thrusters required creativity and risk, but the team wants to have them available as a backup to a set of active thrusters whose fuel tubes are experiencing a buildup of residue that could cause them to stop working as early as this fall. In addition, the mission needed to ensure the availability of the long-dormant thrusters before May 4th, when the Earthbound antenna that sends commands to Voyager 1 and its twin, Voyager 2, went offline for months' worth of upgrades. The Voyagers launched back in 1977, and they've been hurtling through interstellar space at around 35,000 miles per hour, or 56,000 kilometers per hour, for nations that don't use strange, measuring equipment like washing machines or football fields. Both spacecraft rely on a set of primary thrusters to gently pivot them up and down as well as to the right and left in order to keep their antennas pointed at Earth, so they can send back data and receive commands. Within the primary set of thrusters are other thrusters that control the spacecraft's roll and motion. Seen from Earth, the roll motion rotates the antenna like a vinyl record to keep each Voyager pointed at a guide star it uses to orient itself. Both spacecraft have a primary and a backup set of these roll movements. Hey, Charlie. There are another set of thrusters intended to change the spacecraft's trajectory during the flybys of the outer planets, and those were revived on the spacecraft in 2018 and 2019, but they can't induce that roll motion that they're after. To manage the clogging tubes in the thrusters, engineers Switch between the sets of primary, backup, and trajectory thrusters of both Voyager probes. But on Voyager 1, the primary roll thrusters stopped working back in 2004 after losing power in two small internal heaters. Engineers determined the broken heaters were likely unfixable and opted to rely solely on Voyager 1's backup roll thrusters to orient the star tracker. I think at that time, the team was okay with accepting that the primary roll thrusters didn't work because they had a perfectly good backup, said Kareem Badarudin, Voyager mission manager at JPL, which manages the mission for NASA. And frankly, Kareem added, they probably didn't think the Voyagers were going to keep going for another 20 years. Charlie in the chat said, using my snaps engineering abilities and building my son's desk while I watch. Charlie, that's awesome. Without the ability to control the spacecraft's roll motion, a variety of issues would arise that might threaten the mission. So the engineering team decided to re-examine the 2004 thruster failure. They began to suspect that an unexpected change or disturbance in the circuits that control the heater's power supply had effectively flipped a switch to the wrong position. If they could turn the switch back to its original position, the heaters might work again, enabling them to reactivate the primary roll thrusters and use them if the backup roll thrusters that have been in use since 2004 became clogged completely. The solution required some puzzle solving, as most engineering problems tend to. The team would have to turn on the dormant roll thrusters, then try fixing and restarting the heaters. If during that time the spacecraft's star tracker drifted too far from the guide star, the long dormant roll thrusters would automatically fire thanks to the spacecraft's programming. And if the heaters were still off when they fired, it could trigger a small explosion, so the team needed to get the star tracker pointed as precisely as possible. It would be a race, and the team faced additional time pressure. From May 4th of 2025 through February of 2026, the Deep Space Station 43, or DSS-43, which is a 230-foot wide antenna in Canberra, Australia, that's part of the Deep Space Network with NASA, is going to be undergoing upgrades. It would be offline for most of that time, with brief periods of operation in August and December. So a long time where they're not going to be able to send data back and forth to Voyager 1 way the hell out there. Becky says that Charlie's got this with building the desk. Charlie says, so many pieces. And Becky says they like putting things together. It's like a giant puzzle with a prize at the end. That is awesome, Becky. Although the Deep Space Network has 3 complexes equally spaced around the globe, in Goldstone, California, and Madrid, in addition to the Australia site, to ensure constant contact with spacecraft as Earth rotates, DSS-43 is the only dish with enough signal power to send commands to Voyagers. These antenna upgrades are important for future crewed lunar landings, and they also increase communications capacity for our science missions in deep space, some of which are building on the discoveries that Voyager made, said Suzanne Dodd, the Voyager project manager and director of the Interplanetary Network at JPL, which manages the Deep Space Network for NASA. They added, "We've been through downtime like this before, so we're just preparing as much as we can." The team wanted to make sure the long dormant thrusters would be available when the dish is back online briefly in August, by which time the thrusters currently in use on Voyager 1 might be completely clogged. The advance work paid off. On March 20th, the team watched as the spacecraft executed their commands. Because of Voyager's distance, the radio signal takes over 23 hours to travel from the spacecraft to Earth. 23 hours travel time for this data. Meaning everything the team saw happening had occurred almost a day earlier. If the test had failed, Voyager might already have been in danger. But within 20 minutes, the team saw the temperature of the thruster heaters rise dramatically and knew they had succeeded. It was such a glorious moment. Team morale was very high that day, said Todd Barber, the mission's propulsion lead at JPL. Todd also said these thrusters were considered dead, and that was a legitimate conclusion. It's just that one of our engineers had this insight that maybe there was this other possible cause, and it was fixable. It was yet another miracle save for Voyager. Voyager 1 and 2 are located about 15 billion miles or 25 billion kilometers and 13 billion miles or 21 billion kilometers from Earth, respectively. Following their exploration of the 4 outer planets, they are the only spacecraft to ever have sent back data from interstellar space, the region beyond the planets and outside the protective bubble of particles and magnetic fields generated by the sun called the heliosphere. If you want to see more information about NASA's Voyager mission, there is a link in this article. To everybody involved with keeping Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 alive, especially the crazy engineers that figured out they could turn the heaters back on for one of Voyager 1's thrusters, cheers. And to Mona for sending in that article, cheers. Dakuyoru says, I walked into all this talk of thrusters and turning things on. Am I at the right YouTube channel? That's good, Daku. I can't laugh because I'll start coughing because of the allergies, but that is great. Producer Donna is blaming Mona if I sprain my fingers with all the engineering snaps. That is really cool. Oops. There we go. We call this next one, California's Got Balls. And I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. It's my articles. There we go. Is this article too long for me to post? Oh my gosh, it is. Are you kidding me? The article title is too long for me to post. What? I don't think I've ever seen that before. Sorry, Mario, your article is in another channel, says Dakuyoru. Producer Donna is going to try to... Can you do a tiny URL of it? I think I could. Here, I'll post a tiny URL for it. Someone confirm for me if that goes to an article that's titled, A German Experiment Proved That Simple Concrete Spheres Can Make Fantastic Batteries. Now California plans to submerge a 9-meter diameter sphere in the ocean and is already planning versions of 30 meters. Works. Alright, cool. That's the article title. This was posted to the Farmingdale Observer, and it was posted on the 10th of May, 2025, by Rose Dixon. These are some big balls. Storing renewable energy sustainably and efficiently is one of the major challenges of our time. A team of German researchers is proposing a revolutionary solution: concrete spheres immersed in the ocean floor. Their potential is such that California is preparing to test a large-scale prototype. The project, called STENSEA, Stored Energy in the Sea, was developed by the Fraunhofer IEE Institute for Energy and Economics and Energy Systems Technology. The idea is relatively simple. Hollow concrete spheres are installed at a depth of several hundred meters. Each sphere is fitted with a pump turbine and a valve system. Here's how it works. To store energy, excess electricity is used to pump water out of the sphere, creating a relative vacuum. To release energy, we open the valve. The water, pushed by the external pressure, rushes into the sphere and turns the turbine, which produces electricity. An extremely novel take on electricity production with a turbine. Each sphere has an estimated lifespan of between 50 and 60 years, with partial replacement of components every 20 years or so. The concept has already been successfully validated in a pilot test in Lake Constance, Germany, using spheres that were 3 meters in diameter. Building on this success, the researchers are now looking to scale up. So, if you're from a country that landed people on the moon, that's 9.843 feet. In 2006, a sphere that was 9 meters in diameter, or 29.528 feet, and weighing 400 tons, is going to be submerged off the coast of California at a depth of 500 to 600 meters, or in freedom units, 1,640 to 1,969 feet deep. It will have a storage capacity of 0.4 megawatt hours or 400 kilowatt hours, which is enough energy to power an average household for several weeks. Eventually, the aim is to create even larger spheres, up to 30 meters in diameter, or 98.425 feet. That's a big ball. That are going to be deployed in fields on the seabed around the world. An environmentally friendly alternative to hydroelectric dams compared with traditional hydroelectric power stations, often criticized for their environmental impact, underwater spheres offer a number of advantages. They have a high expansion potential. The seabed offers a vast, little exploited area. There's also high social acceptability. They're installed far from inhabited areas, and the facilities arouse very less opposition. According to Dr. Bernhard Ernst of the Fraunhofer IEE, energy storage via these spheres could become an essential part of the world's energy future, particularly to support the massive development of renewable energies. This promising innovation shows that sometimes solutions to modern challenges can come from concepts as simple as a sphere, made of concrete at the bottom of the ocean. That's pretty crazy. Charlie says, German concrete power balls. Insert joke here from Becky. Charlie likes hearing the clack as I math along with conversions. Something satisfying about key clack noises, says Charlie. Yeah, this keyboard that I got, this keyboard actually came with this computer, with the new computer that we have for Nick's News. And at first I wasn't really sold on it because it clacks so loudly compared to my older keyboard, but it's grown on me a little bit. So to everybody involved at the Fraunhofer IEE, coming up with a new way to do renewable power in the form of giant balls on the seafloor, cheers. Oh, that beer's good. All right, so that's going to get us out of science and technology. We're going to move on to category 2, health and medicine. And we've got one article in this category that was sent in by Cassidy. So Cassidy, thank you so much for this. We called it Proving Its Potential. And I will copy and paste this article into the chat if y'all want to read along. World first. U.S. baby treated with personalized CRISPR gene editing. This was posted to Science Alert on the 16th of May of 2025. Simply listed by health. I am not seeing an author. Maybe Agence France Presse, perhaps? But let's get into the article. A U.S. infant with a rare condition has become history's first patient to be treated with a personalized gene editing technique that raises hopes for other people with obscure illnesses, doctors said on Thursday of that week. That's the one I left a note for you about. Ah, crap. Producer Donna, I missed that note. Can you post in the chat who the author of this is? Just so I have it correctly. While you do that, I'll keep going and I'll reference it when I see it pop up. The wee pioneer is KJ Muldoon, now a 9.5-month-old boy with chubby cheeks and big blue eyes. Shortly after birth, he was diagnosed with a rare and serious condition that's called CPS1 deficiency. It is caused by a mutation in a gene that produces an enzyme key to liver function and prevents people with it from eliminating certain kinds of toxic waste produced by their metabolism. You Google CPS1 deficiency and it's either fatality rate or liver transplant. The baby's mother, Nicole Muldoon, says in a video that was released by Children's Hospitals of Philadelphia, where the baby was treated. With the prognosis grim, doctors suggested something that had never been done before. A personalized treatment to fix the baby's genome using what amounts to a pair of molecular scissors. The technique, called CRISPR-Cas9, which earned its creators the Nobel Prize for Chemistry in 2020. No author. The source credits Agence France Presse, the French version of the Associated Press. It seems to be based on the press release from the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. No author. All right, thank you, producer Donna, for that. The boy's father said he and his wife faced an impossible decision. Our child is sick. We either have to get a liver transplant or give him this medicine that has never been given to anyone before, right? Said Kyle Muldoon. In the end, they agreed to have the child treated with an infusion created just for him to fix his genetic mutation. Incorrect DNA letters in the several billion that make up the human genome. The drug is really designed only for KJ, so the genetic variants that he has are specific to him. It is personalized medicine, said Rebecca Aarons-Nicholas, a member of the medical team who specializes in pediatric genetics. Once the tailor-made infusion reached the liver, the molecular scissors contained in it penetrated cells and went to work editing the boy's flawed gene. The results were promising for other people with genetic conditions, said the medical team, which published their study Thursday in the New England Journal of Medicine. KJ can now follow a diet richer in proteins. His condition prohibited such before, and he does not need as much medicine as he used to. But he will need to follow up long-term to monitor the safety and efficacy of the treatment, the team said, because again, this is the first time we have ever pulled this off. Aarons-Nicholas said she hoped this achievement will allow the boy to get by with little or no medication someday. We hope he is the first of many to benefit from a methodology that can be scaled to fit an individual patient's needs, the doctor said. That is really cool. A world first utilizing CRISPR to edit the genetics of a baby to fix a genetic mutation. To KJ Muldoon, the first recipient ever, and to Cassidy for sending in that article. Cheers. All right, that gets us out of health and medicine. We're going to move on to category 3, flora and fauna, aka plants and animals. And this first one was sent in by Charlie. Thank you very much, Charlie, for sending this in. I titled it, I Like Turtles. Simple as that, right? I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. Philadelphia Zoo welcomes 3 baby Galapagos tortoises to join the Golden Girls. This was posted to CBS News, and it was posted on May 16th of 2025 by Laura Fay. Becky says, turtles are cute. The Philadelphia Zoo welcomed 3 new additions to its animal family this week after a group of male Western Santa Cruz Galapagos tortoises hatched. The boys joined the Golden Girls, 4 female tortoises that hatched earlier this year, who were named Dorothy, Rose, Blanche, and Sophia after a community vote. The first of the boys began to hatch on April 14th. And I think we did do the article of when the Golden Girls hatched. It was a beautiful little article. So yes, thank you, producer Donna. This is an update from our April 6th episode. All 7 babies are the offspring of female Mommy and male Abrazo, the zoo's 2 oldest residents. Mommy is also considered the oldest first-time mom of her species. She's been at the zoo for more than 9 decades. That's right, she's over 90 years old, and she just had her first kids. The sex of these tortoises is determined by the temperature during incubation, which the zoo can influence. Temperatures below 82.4 degrees produce males, and conditions above 85.1 degrees produce females. The eggs hatch after 4 to 8 months. Mommy laid the eggs that have hatched so far in November of 2024, and staff at the zoo chose to incubate some at a temperature that would produce males, and some at a temperature that would produce females. All of these babies are staying in the reptile and amphibian house for now, and they are adorable. Talk about employee of the century, says Charlie. 9 more eggs that Mommy laid in January are still developing and could hatch soon, according to the zoo. Mommy arrived at the zoo in 1932, meaning anyone that has visited the zoo for the last 92 years has likely seen her, President and CEO Joel Mogerman said in a statement in April. Philadelphia Zoo's vision is that those hatchlings will be part of a thriving population of Galapagos tortoises on our healthy planet 100 years from now. Western Santa Cruz Galapagos tortoises are critically endangered, and these babies are part of a program by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums that is working to keep species like this alive. This success has been a years-long process for bringing Abrazo to the zoo in 2020, to fundraising for nesting materials in 2021, and introducing Mommy and Abrazo in 2022, Vice President of Animal Wellbeing Rachel Metz said in a statement. Our sincerest gratitude for this success goes to the passionate and diligent work by experts in the AZA community and the entire Philadelphia Zoo team, including the countless keepers that kept Mommy healthy and thriving over the last 93 years, added Rachel. The zoo is selling merch to celebrate the tortoises and raise money for its animal care fund. There is a link in the article. To everybody at the Philadelphia Zoo, raising the next batch of critically endangered Western Santa Cruz Galapagos tortoises, and to Charlie for sending in that article, cheers. This next one we called Penguin Science Gets Weirder and Weirder. And I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. Scientists believe penguin poop might be cooling Antarctica. Here's how. This was posted to goodgoodgood.co on May 23rd of 2025 by Matt Simon. This story was originally published by Grist, and there is a link if you want to sign up for Grist's weekly newsletter. In December of 2022, Matthew Boyer hopped on an Argentine military plane to one of the most remote habitations on Earth, Marambio Station, at the tip of the Antarctic Peninsula, where the icy continent stretches towards South America. Months before that, Boyer had to ship expensive, delicate instruments that might get busted by the time he landed. When you arrive, you have boxes that have been sometimes sitting outside in Antarctica for a month or two, in a cold warehouse, said Boyer, a PhD student in atmospheric science at the University of Helsinki. And we're talking about sensitive instrumentation, they added. But the effort paid off because Boyer and his colleagues found something peculiar about penguin guano. In a paper published on Thursday of that week in the journal Communications, Earth and Environment, they describe how ammonia wafting off the droppings of 60,000 birds contributed to the formation of clouds that might be acting to insulate Antarctica, helping to cool down an otherwise rapidly warming continent. Some penguin populations, however, are under serious threat because of climate change. Losing them and their guano could mean fewer clouds and more heating in an already fragile ecosystem, one so full of ice that it will significantly raise sea levels worldwide as it melts. A better understanding of this dynamic could help scientists hone their models of how Antarctica will transform as the world warms. They can now investigate, for instance, if some penguin species produce more ammonia and, therefore, more of a cooling effect. That's the impact of this paper, said Tamara Russell, a marine ornithologist at Scripps Institution of Oceanography, who studies penguins but wasn't involved in the research. That will inform the models better, because we know that some species are decreasing, some are increasing, and that's going to change a lot down there in many different ways, they added. With their expensive instruments, Boyer and his research team measured atmospheric ammonia between January and March of 2023, summertime in the southern hemisphere. They found that when the wind was blowing from an Adelie penguin colony that was 5 miles away from the detectors, concentrations of the gas shot up to 1,000 times higher than their baseline. Even when the penguins had moved out of the colony after breeding, ammonia concentrations remained elevated for at least a month as the guano continued to emit the gas. That atmospheric ammonia could have been helping to cool the area. The researchers further demonstrated that the ammonia kicks off an atmospheric chain reaction. Out at sea, tiny plant-like organisms known as phytoplankton release the gas dimethyl sulfide, which transforms into sulfuric acid in the atmosphere. Because ammonia is a base, it reacts readily with the acid. This coupling results in the rapid formation of aerosol particles. Clouds form when water vapor gloms onto any number of different aerosols, like soot and pollen, that are floating around in the atmosphere. In populated places, these particles are more abundant because industries and vehicles emit so many of them as pollutants. Trees and other vegetation spew aerosols too. But because Antarctica lacks trees and doesn't have much vegetation at all, the aerosols from penguin guano and phytoplankton can make quite an impact. Back in February of 2023, Boyer and the other researchers measured a particularly strong burst of particles associated with guano, sampled a resulting fog a few hours later, and found particles created by the interaction of ammonia from the guano and sulfuric acid from the plankton. So, these two chemicals that are wafting up, one from the phytoplankton and one from the penguin poo, are meeting in the atmosphere. They are combining. They are creating an aerosol that water vapor is then sticking to, and we are getting cloud cover. Fascinating. Here's where the climate impacts get a bit trickier, though. Scientists know that in general, clouds cool Earth's climate by reflecting some of the sun's energy back into space. Although Boyer and his team hypothesized that clouds enhanced with penguin ammonia are probably helping cool this part of Antarctica, they note that they didn't quantify that climate effect, which would require further research. That's a bit critical of information because of the potential for the warming climate to create a feedback loop. As oceans heat up, penguins are losing access to some of their prey, and colonies are shrinking or disappearing entirely as a result. Charlie just said, "Go, go, penguin poo-poo rangers." Charlie, no, that is not a Sentai that we need. Fewer penguins producing guano means less ammonia and fewer clouds, which means more warming and more disruptions to the animals, and on and on and on in a self-reinforcing cycle. If this paper is correct, and it really seems to be a nice piece of work to me, there's going to be a feedback effect, where it's going to accelerate the changes that are already pushing change in the penguins, said Peter Roopnarine, curator of geology at the California Academy of Sciences. Scientists might now look elsewhere, Roopnarine adds, to find other bird colonies that could also be providing cloud cover. Protecting those species from pollution and hunting would be a natural way to engineer Earth systems to offset some planetary warming. We think it's for the sake of the birds, Roopnarine said. Well, obviously, it goes well beyond that. To everybody involved figuring out if penguin poo may be helping to keep the Earth cool, specifically Antarctica, cheers. All right, that's going to get us out of flora and fauna. We're going to move on to category 4, the wholesome notes. And this first one is an I'm not crying, you're crying kind of article. So I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. Pride attendees invited to play catch with supportive dads. You're doing great, kiddo. This was posted to goodgoodgood.co on May 23rd of 2025 by Cameron Baker. Over the past 10 years, it has been increasingly common for Pride attendees to spot a joyful adult wearing a Free Mom Hugs or Free Dad Hugs t-shirt in the crowd of a parade. But Dad and ally John Piermateo wanted to come up with another creative way to show familial support to LGBTQ plus people who might not have that kind of love at home. He thought about something simple and straightforward that meant a lot to him growing up, tossing around a ball with his dad in the backyard. So he started Play Catch with a Dad in 2019. It was simple. Piermateo got a Nerf football, hand-painted a sign, and leaned it against a tree, and waited for people to come. He chose a good locale, York Equality Fest in York, Pennsylvania. Although Piermateo himself is not part of the LGBTQ plus community, he is a father of 2, including a non-binary child. Already familiar with Pride events, he was prepared to meet people where they were at. I had no idea how the concept might be received, he said. It took several trips past my sign before anyone engaged, he told LGBTQ Nation. I watched people go by looking at the sign out of the side of their eye, then, on the next pass, they might make eye contact with me. Finally, I would see them walking with purpose directly at me. Daku Yoru says, yay, Dad's being awesome. Becky says, aw. And producer Donna says, I know, right? I'm so proud of them. Can I play catch with you? They would ask. We would toss the ball a few times, and then I'd give them a hug. After a pause due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Piermateo came back with a bang, rallying lifelong friends to join him at his next Play Catch with a Dad event. Play Catch with a Dad event. In the years following, he would take the offering on the road for Pride festivals across Pennsylvania and nationwide. Play Catch with a Dad even had its spot at San Francisco Pride in 2023 and San Diego Pride in 2024, 2 massive Pride gatherings that bring in up to 1 million attendees each. Roughly 2 out of every 5 interactions result in the attendee crying in our arms, Piermateo told LGBTQ Nation. We have even had people walk by, see the sign, then burst into tears. It can be an incredibly emotional experience for both the attendees and the dads. When it's just him, his throwing arm gets a bit tired, but the movement has grown to a public Facebook group, link in the article, with nearly 200 volunteers joining in on the fun. Every father who joins Piermateo wears a name tag that simply says, Dad. For Pride 2025, Piermateo and his friends will travel to Phoenix, Chicago, and Baltimore, where Play Catch with a Dad will be a fixture for the Orioles Pride Night at Camden Yards. We have straight dads. We have gay dads. We have dads that have gay children, and dads who have straight children, Piermateo said of the group. What unites us is our desire to help. While it's a small gesture that requires very little athleticism, it means a lot. Some of them said, my dad stopped doing things with me, our relationship just completely changed, Piermateo told Wellspan. Others said, I never really had a dad, so it was nice to play catch with one. Piermateo now has an ongoing relationship with Pennsylvania's Rainbow Rose Center, which hosts him at York's annual Pride event. A lot of people have lost access to a father figure, and that is particularly true in the LGBTQIA+ community, where people often face a broken family after they come out. Tesla Taliaferro, the board president of the Rainbow Rose Center, said, a few minutes of playing catch is a way for these dads to say, I see you, I support you, I respect you, and I love you. I am glad you are here, they added. While the movement slowly takes hold at Pride events in the U.S., Piermateo hopes it can one day have a similar reach as Free Mom Hugs, which has become a global movement for stand-in LGBTQ+ familial support. Maybe someday, he told Wellspan, it will be all over the place. But for now, he's making a difference for even just one individual. On Facebook, an anonymous contributor left the group a note of thanks. Seeing this group come up on my Facebook reminded me of the moments I got to play catch at San Diego Pride, they said. The warm and genuine hug that the dad there gave me, along with a, you're doing great, kiddo. Thank you for what you are doing. It means so much. It's emblematic of Pierre Mateo's overall goal, to help someone heal, if just a little bit, one toss at a time. I'm not crying, you're crying. To John Pierre Mateo and his group, play catch with a dad. Cheers. Daku Yoru said, damn it, how dare you make me cry my own tears. I swear, an army of ninjas with squirt guns just got into my studio room here and shot me in the face. This last article we called Well-Earned Respect, and I believe it was sent in by somebody. Producer Donna, can you confirm for me if our last article tonight, I thought that it was mentioned that it came from somebody. I can actually see Mantis McLeod in the background. I just saw him doing a little dangle. Charlie, sobbing, gonna go shake mine after the show. Charlie, you sent in our last article for the night. We called it Well-Earned Respect. It's a short one, but it is a reminder that for those of us in the United States, tomorrow, which is March 26th, is Memorial Day, where we remember those who gave all. All give some, and some give all for the United States military. So this is a good one for us to end on for this episode. So I will paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. They risked their life to protect our country. 11-year-old helps restore veterans' graves. This was posted to WSFA 12. It was written on March 31st of 2025 by Alicia Neves and Ken's via the CNN news source that was provided. A fifth grader in Texas is showing his appreciation for veterans buried in community cemeteries. 11-year-old Nicholas Pinkerton is from Spring Branch in the south central area of Texas. He learned that community cemeteries contain nearly 80% of the country's veterans, and they don't get the same amount of care as the national cemeteries. The community cemeteries are often managed by nonprofits that rely mostly on donations to keep them operating. So he wanted to make a change, and he enlisted his father for help. Together, they have visited 8 cemeteries and helped clean them. They have placed bronze medallions on veterans' graves and have worked to indicate which branch of service the veteran participated in during their time in the military. They risked their life to protect our country, and we can't just leave their graves all messed up, Pinkerton said. Pinkerton and his dad started the nonprofit Warriors Remembrance Foundation, and they hope to bring attention to veterans buried outside of national cemeteries so the grave sites can get the care and attention Pinkerton says they deserve. We're trying to get a law to where they can have perpetual care, and the veterans don't have to rely on the families to do everything, because the family, they might not even have a family, and the family might move away. They might pass away, so you know that's how this stuff happens, Pinkerton said. To 11-year-old Nicholas Pinkerton of Spring Branch in south central Texas for helping to clean the grave sites of our nation's veterans, and to Charlie for sending us this article. Cheers. Seven amazing articles tonight, ending with a reminder that May 26th, as the broadcast of this episode tomorrow, is Memorial Day. So to all of those who've served the United States Armed Forces, cheers. All that are no longer with us, and in memory. Thank you all for tuning in or catching the replay on the Nick's News YouTube page. We are live every Sunday, or we strive to be live every Sunday, and our next episode will be on June 1st of 2025. We appreciate and encourage participation, so by all means, if you feel inclined, you can message us or post suggestions for news brews, shoutouts, news quotes, and of course, good news episodes that we can present on future episodes. If possible, we appreciate a variety of articles spread out across our 4 categories, and those categories, again, were science and technology, health and medicine, flora and fauna, aka plants and animals, and wholesome notes, the really nice articles that we like to end on. You can message us on Facebook or our Instagram, or you can email us at somebudgetstudios@gmail.com. Links are in the description of this video. Feel free to like, subscribe, or comment on our content on our Facebook and YouTube page so that we can continue to get our good news and joy out into the algorithm. I'll never tell you what to do, but I can't say thank you enough for everything you have all done. Our pages continue to grow, and we continue to spread good news and that hope core that we are doing out into the world, and I am forever appreciative of all of you. As always, thank you again so very much. I love you all. Have a great night, and I will play us out.